Sorry, just give me like half a year. I'm just waiting for Goodreads to load. It's nice to see you. I'm glad you could make it, and welcome to the November reading wrap up. And I am happy to announce that I feel like I am back on my A game. I feel like I am back. I feel like I have been reading at least a little bit every single day. I feel like the slump is starting to unslumpify. I feel like getting caught up on everything and like being up to date with all of my books and not being in the middle of 11 books at the same time, because it literally makes everything impossible to do and it makes it impossible to pick up a book because you don't know where to go. I'm out of that. So we caught up with everything. We are ready to go. It's time to do our November reading wrap up. I feel like I read a lot of good books this month. I feel like I got to a lot of books that I've been wanting to get to. And I also just kind of had a fun reading month. Like, this was very much so a mood reading month, which is a good thing, because if I had a TBR, she'd be out the window. She would be so far out the window. You know what I mean? So all in all, things went well considering I didn't have a TBR. We did have a really good reading month. Now, before we get into anything, I am very sad to announce that I am in fact not doing Bookmas this year. Very sad about it. I feel like so many of my friends are doing Bookmas this year, which I'm so excited about. Like, I am being fed with all the book videos and I'm so excited to keep caught up with everyone. And I very sadly had to make the decision that I'm not going to do it this year. However, what I am filming right now, which will be coming out in the pretty near future, will explain why it wasn't possible for me to do Bookmas this year. I would not have been able to swing the last couple weeks, the next couple of weeks, and doing Bookmas. So no Bookmas for me this year. That being said, get ready, because I have some exciting videos coming. I have some big life updates coming, and that's what I'm going to leave you with. And without further ado, we will get into my November reading wrap up. In November, we did complete 6 books, which is pretty damn good for me. Okay, you know what? I will take it and I will run with it. And a lot of these were quite long, and there was a lot going on. I don't know why I'm defending myself. 6 books in a month is still fucking amazing. If you read 1 book, you're a reader. If you read 100, you're a reader. Okay? But now we've cleared that all out of the way. I did in fact read 4 fantasies, 1 romance, and 1 lit fic / horror. It's classified as horror. I didn't feel like it was horror while I was reading it, but that's what it was classified as when I looked it up. We'll get into it. For a total of 2,939 pages, except for that's kind of a lie, because if you watched last month's, you would know that I was in the middle of a couple of books. However, the 6 books we completed added up to being 2,939 pages. And I didn't know where I was in those books. So like kind of about 293 pages, but I started some of them in October. But we're caught up now, and we're out of the slump. So all is well. And those were our reading stats for the month of November. So now we have our update, a little bit of a life update, why I'm not doing Bookmas this year, a little bit of what's just going on, a little bit of a teaser, and we have all of our reading stats for the month of November. So now all that's left to do is actually talk about the books. Anyways, this is what we read in the month of November. Lady of Darkness by Melissa K. Roehrich. I've been wanting to get to this book for the longest of long times. You guys know the Legacy series is one of my most god-tier favorite series. It's my favorite fantasy series of the year, without a shadow of a doubt. It is also the only fantasy series that so far I've rated every single book 5 stars. And I wanted to finish this series before going into Dawn of Chaos and Fury, the book that just came out a couple of days ago. And no, I have not read it yet. I feel like I'm not mentally or physically prepared. However, the first 3 books in that series, 5 freaking stars, and I have the highest of high expectations for Dawn of Chaos and Fury. And I cannot wait to get in there. I just feel like I need to have all of my brain cells when I do go into there. And yes, it will be in a video. I obviously did not get to read all of Lady of Darkness prior to going into finishing the Legacy series. This technically, timeline-wise, comes before the Legacy series. However, Melissa has said 100 times in the author note in every single book, they are separate worlds, and there are minor character overlaps in the Legacy series, but it wouldn't ruin the reading experience for this. However, I do find now that I've read this, there's a chance that it could have been more exciting to read Legacy having already read this series because of the overlays of characters and like just how some things happen in Legacy, like how this Legacy series presents things. It's not even just that there's characters, it's also that they live in the same universe, but they're governed by different laws in the same universe, is I feel like the best way that I can explain it. So I don't think that I'm going to be able to get through this entire series before I actually finally end up picking up Dawn of Chaos and Fury, but I do think you can read them in either order and it would be fine. I'm definitely glad I read Legacy first because this is good. I had so much fun with it, but I feel like I had so much fun with it because I already love the Chaosverse so much, and it was very interesting to see the similarities and the differences in like how the gods are utilized and how the magic is utilized and how the bonds of everything work. That being said, while Legacy is incredibly dark, very, very, very dark romantic fantasy, this is kind of dark romantic fantasy. It's definitely on the darker side, but it's kind of one of those assassin people main character stories that are just so much fun to follow along on. And even though I kind of know what she's doing a couple of years in the future, getting her story now was still just as fun, and I don't regret reading it in either order. We're following Scarlet, and Scarlet's mother passed away when she was very young, and she was raised in the Black Syndicate, which is essentially this like syndicate of underground origins. You know what I mean? They sometimes work for the crown, they sometimes work with the crown. Moral of the story, story, it is definitely an underground organization, and she was raised alongside two sisters, and they are dubbed the Ladies of Death. Everyone knows if you see the three sisters that you're in for trouble. It's not going to go well for you. But children out of the Black Syndicate and children in this kingdom are starting to go missing. And even though they are warded off from the rest of the world and there are only humans allowed in this realm, maybe that's not necessarily true, and maybe the vampire lands and the fae lands are not as closed off as we think they are, and maybe the stories we haven't heard are true. And we're kind of learning all of that, learning about this world, the magic and everything in it through the eyes of Scarlet and through her learning everything about herself and everything about her history. Kind of just like the perfect fantasy story. It has the perfect amount of stakes. The magic in the world in this was already so well thought out and so fleshed out, and then it's just somehow even better in Legacy. Like, I think Melissa K. Roehrich might work out to be my favorite fantasy author literally of all time. I have literally no notes. I would change absolutely nothing in this, and I cannot wait to read further on in the series. I said I'm giving this one a 4 because it was just good. It was just so good. It was literally just a good book, and it was just good characters, and I love this world. Wild Card by Elsie Silver. I have been on and off reading this since September, okay? I don't know if I was fully in the mood for a romance, but every single time I sat down with it, I was so excited to read it, and then it just got pushed to the wayside. That being said, we did finally finish Wild Card in the month of November, in the beginning of November, and I'm actually very happy with how I feel about this one. If you're wondering what my Rose Hill ranking situation is, because I feel like it's so different for everyone. Like, everyone loves different couples or like loves different tropes and different books and like how the books connect in different ways. For me, it is definitely Wild Eyes, Wild Card, Wild Side, and then Wild Love. Wild Love did not hit that hard for me, and I know it's a lot of people's favorite. It's my best friend, it's Emily's favorite, but it was not my favorite. This was just so good. It was just peak Elsie Silver. I loved everything about it. Literally no notes. I loved the couple in this. I feel like this is really advertised as an age gap. The age gap isn't huge, and it's not talked about a ton. Our male main character Bash and our female main character Gwen met in the Vancouver airport for one night, and it was just kind of this night that burned into both of their memories. But on that night, Bash had just found out that he has a son that he never knew anything about, so he was only in Vancouver visiting that son. And a year later, he's flying back to Vancouver for his son's birthday because he's really trying to make a relationship with him. And when he gets to his birthday party, Gwen is there, and Gwen is his girlfriend. No, but they're actually not that serious, and it's actually not that big of a deal. And ironically, Gwen has gotten a job in Rose Hill, and she's going to be working in Rose Hill. There's so much tension between them right out of the gate, and there is a very old man that has been a side character, Crazy Clyde, all of the Rose Hill series, and his story in this tore my heart out. Like, literally tore my heart out. I also think if you or someone you love has been affected by the wildfires, this book is going to hit really close to home. There were a lot of moments in this book that really, really did make me cry. So that definitely got it some bonus points for me for just how much I feel for this book and how much I'll remember it. The couple was just good. Like, I really did just like Bash and Gwen's story and their tension and their romance. Elsie Silver just does like a country cowboy romance. He's not a cowboy. He's literally a wildfire pilot. But it's in Rose Hill. It's country, you know? But she does them like nobody else. I wouldn't have changed a single second in this. I gave it a 4.5. Then we came upon the Quicksilver reread. Okay, I was never going to get this copy of this book because I love the indie copy. But then we were about to get Brimstone, and I realized what Brimstone was going to look like, and I realized that I was going to have a paperback indie edition that was nowhere near the same height, and then everything else in the series would be this black, gorgeous hardback edition. So I did in fact buy the bullet. I did buy it when it was on sale, and I do now have a second copy of Quicksilver, which I didn't think I was going to want that. And then I did the reread, and if I felt the way I felt about the reread of this, the first time around, this would have been a 5 fucking stars. So many of my friends gave this 5 stars, and when I read it, I was kind of like, I don't get it. I don't get the 5 stars. My initial thoughts on this book, and I feel like a lot of people in my book club felt the very same way. This is actually our very first book club book ever, like a year and a half ago, but we all kind of felt the same way, that the beginning was good, it was set up well, and then the middle was rough. The middle was quite rough. Like, a lot of it was quite rough because I felt like nobody was telling our female main character anything. And then you as the reader knew nothing, you know, which was not the best. The second time around, it didn't bug me as much. I feel like maybe because I was listening to it and you already knew some things. I don't know. I just feel very differently the second time around. And I also have read a lot of books that like the main character's never told anything, like you have to wait to find out, or like you're gonna have to ask him about that. And it hasn't pissed me off as much, so maybe just like wasn't in the right headspace for this the first time. But then like the 70 to 90% point was like 5 stars. Immaculate, no notes. The world got so interesting, the story got so interesting, finding everything out was so interesting. And the last 10%, 6 motherfucking stars. Truly one of the best reading experiences ever. I have like truly very few times been locked in. Like I was locked into the end of this book, and upon the reread, literally just so good. And I still haven't gone into Brimstone, and I read this in anticipation for Brimstone because I realized I remembered nothing. But it's like kind of reminding me that I should do rereads more often because I loved every single second of this reread. We're following Sarah's Fane. Sarah's Fane is from Zilvarin, the Silver City, and they have an incredibly awful tyrant queen. And all the people that live in the part of the city that she is from are in extreme poverty. And her mom was killed by that very Queen's Guard when she was very young. So her and her brother have had a very rough go. So Sarah's has had to get pretty scrappy, but that scrappiness has ended up with her getting taken by the Queen's Guard and her being probably executed by the Queen for some of that scrappiness behavior. While she's in that room where she's probably gonna get executed, she kind of hears this piece of metal, this sword, calling to her. And when she goes to pull that sword out of a piece of solid metal, that solid metal turns to Quicksilver, and some man comes out of it. Some man named Kingfisher, and she wakes up somewhere else. I feel like I described that poorly. However, I feel like there's a very rare chance that you have no idea what Quicksilver is about, because I feel like we're all talking about it. But that's my synopsis. And the second time around, I always keep my original ratings. Like, I honor my original ratings the first time around. 4.25, because that's what I rated the first time. But like, in my heart, a 5. Carrie and Swift, best side character ever. Katabasis by R.F. Kuang. This is another one that I started in October and then finally ended up rounding up and finishing in the month of November. I had a lot of fun with this. I did. I feel very grateful that I was able to read this story. I feel like that's something that I say like kind of on and off semi-frequently. But there's stories that you just are like kind of grateful that you had the chance to read them. Like, they were thought-provoking, they were interesting. I'm very glad that I read them. But at the end of the day, I just did not find myself really wanting to pick it up. But while I was in it, I loved every single second of it. Like, I loved the characters in this. It was so cool having R.F. Kuang's interpretation of hell. Like, just this creative endeavor that's so rooted in academia was just really fun to read about. I really enjoyed it. I loved Alice and Peter. Like, they have carved a little hole in my heart. Archimedes has carved a little hole in my heart. Like, this is the definition of like a journey. Like, this is the definition of an adventure story, but it's so rooted in academia and it just feels so fleshed out. I've heard a lot of people say that they feel like R.F. Kuang's writing is a lot of being overwritten. Like, a lot is being overwritten. And I'd never experienced that like with Olivie Blake, with R.F. Kuang, any author previously. I did not have a good time with Babel. And I feel like this time around, I kind of noticed a couple of times that it felt long and it felt like there was a lot of explanations for things that didn't need to be there. But because it's so based in logic, the magic in this is all based on like logic and logical fallacies. Like, you're able to perform magic when in logic, like real logic that's rooted in reality, has a logical fallacy and something doesn't make sense for a second. Like, when you're looking at a logical statement and it doesn't make sense for a second and you can suspend belief, that's when the magic in this world works. And that's what Alice and Peter study at university. But it has wound up with the professor dying, ending up in hell. And the seriousness of academia, or the unseriousness of academia, determines that they must go down to hell to find their professor so that they can get their graduation paper, so they can get that ringing endorsement and they can try and get on a tenure track. It just was fun. I had so much fun when I was reading it. I enjoyed the reading experience of it. I just wasn't pulling to pick it up very often, which is why I ended up giving it a 4. Girl Dinner by Olivie Blake. This is my book club's November book pick, and I loved this so much. I loved this so much. I can't lie, I was a little bit nervous to read an Olivie Blake book with my book club. We read a lot of fun, different books. I just feel like I feel so strongly about my love for Olivie Blake, and so many people in my life have tried to read Olivie Blake and they just like cannot get behind the style of writing and how pretentious Olivie Blake's writing is. I love it with every single fiber of my being. So I knew in the book club if absolutely everyone was hating it, it was going to make me a little bit sad because I would feel like I had to defend it. That being said, Olivie Blake is very much an acquired taste. Everyone is entitled to their opinion, obviously. I just love everything that she spins up every single time. If you were wondering, without a shadow of a doubt, this is once again a 5-star. I did immersive read this, which I feel like might have made it even better. Bailey's been trying to convince me to immersive read for the longest time, and I kind of started doing it with Katabasis for the last like 100 pages, and it made it a lot more epic. And then I was going to this and I was like, I wonder how good the audiobook of this is, and I loved the audiobook of this. This story is so outlandish. It's very much a short story. And there's something that Olivie Blake said in the author's note of this book that I just felt like summed up the existence of this book very well. And it was that there was so much going on in the media. There was so much conversation about feminism. There was so much conversation about women's rights. And they were thoughts and topics that were so top of mind, and they were on Olivie Blake's mind. And it wound up with her coming up with this story, coming up with this idea. And at the end of the day, this is a short story and this is a book. It's not a resource, but it really is quite thought-provoking, and it's outlandish like Olivie Blake always does outlandish. Essentially following these women through the pursuit of the house. The house being the best sorority, being the sorority that lets almost no one in, a sorority who everyone who graduates out of this sorority house goes on to become some of the most influential women. So many moments in this book, so many quotes, so many thoughts, and there were so many different types of characters in this book and people who looked at the world and the issues that women are facing in the world very differently. And the way that they were tackled in this book were truly just so thought-provoking, and also it just felt so modern. I don't know how else to explain it. Like, this book will stand the test of time, but I feel like I will always remember having read this in 2025. This will be a book that feels so 2025 to me. I feel a lot of these feelings being a young woman, but it's Olivie Blake, and it's called Girl Dinner, and there's blood on the cover. So I wonder why all the women out of that house ended up being so successful. It's kind of what you think it is, but then it ends up not really being what you think it is. And finally, after being screamed at to pick this up by people in my real life, by my comment sections, by literally everyone around me, I have finally read Heavenly Bodies by Imani Erriu. And I don't know if I was 100% in the mind space to read this when I picked it up, because I had so much fun. I was giggling, I was kicking my feet. I loved a lot about this, but it just did feel like a romantasy for a lot of it. Like, a lot of it felt predictable. A lot of it felt like fun banter time. Don't get me wrong, I was having a lot of fun with it. It just like was a book that I was reading. It was kind of the thought process for a lot of this. I know a lot of my friends love this because of the celestial magic in it and the celestial components of this. And I wasn't really getting that beyond the gods being stars instead of being referred to as gods until the end. And I feel like in the end it got very celestial, and the end really did take me by surprise. Like, you could not have put a gun to my head and said, guess the end of this, and if you're wrong, I'm pulling the trigger. I would have been dead. I never would have guessed the ending out of this. I never, literally never would have guessed the ending out of this. I thought it was a lot of fun. The world was a lot of fun, and I'm excited to see what happens in Fallen Stars because I feel like it's a good setup, and it was a really good first book in a series. We get right on into it. Right in the very beginning, our main character Alara has been kidnapped by a rival kingdom. In the world of Celestia, I think is what it was called, but all the kingdoms in this world essentially became the kingdoms they have and have the magic that they have. At some point, the stars, which are kind of like the gods in this world, have fallen down into the planet, and they have claimed certain kingdoms as their own. So there is a corresponding star for every kingdom, and the magic in those kingdoms is correspondent of the star that they are related to. But our female main character Alara, which is from the kingdom of darkness, of night, of shadows, all of that, has been kidnapped by the opposing kingdom, the kingdom of light, of sun, of bright, of all of those things, because they view Alara as a weapon, and they want to kill a god. And the prince that's supposed to be training her, they hate each other. Absolutely hate each other. However, for like 2 seconds, it's really more slight dislike, but immediate interest to lovers. But it was good. I had a good fun time with it, and I'm very excited to read Fallen Stars. By the time that I was actually finishing this, I already had Fallen Stars in my cart. It was already on its way. That was kind of the gist. And just like that, this is everything that I read in the month of November, and I feel like I can say confidently that I am out of the reading slump. I am feeling pretty damn good about reading. I am back in my reading bag, and it could not have come a second quicker because, you know, we're really almost at the end of the year, and the reading goal, she's looming, and it's fine. You don't need to hit your reading goal. It's literally just a silly number on a screen. It feels good to hit your reading number, so I am still going to attempt to try to hit that reading goal. Also, let me know the #1 book that you want to finish before 2026, because she's upon us. She's upon us. We have one more month. Crazy, crazy. All in all, I feel like we've had good reading years. I'm feeling optimistic about our reading years. Thank you so much for spending a little bit of your day with me, and I hope to see you in the next one. I feel like you should keep your eyes peeled because there's some fun videos coming, I think. Some updates, some things. Anyways, love you. Bye! I didn't even notice that these were so color coordinated. They look so cute together. This is a pretty stack for some books that I feel pretty damn good about.